This is the Conservative Crusader.
Welcome back. This is the Conservative Crusader here on the Red Future Radio Network. Joining us today is one of America First's best fighters up on Capitol Hill. You can't tell I'm talking fast. I'm excited to have this man on the program. He is the congressman from New York's 3rd Congressional District, Representative George Santos. His House website is santos.house.gov. Congressman, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
Well, thank you for hopping on. It truly is an honor to speak with you today. So before we go down to D.C. and talk about what's going on Capitol Hill, you represent New York, which is a heavy target of Republican border state governors, sending up their illegal migrants flowing into their states, and then they're sending them on buses up to New York, specifically to the city, which is a sanctuary city. You had a great reaction to this, especially with United Nations in town on Twitter this weekend. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my colleagues here from New York City and from New York State in general, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, Nadler, Agent Esperalta, Nydia Velasquez, and much more. They were on Friday doing a press conference outside of the Roosevelt Hotel. They got booed by New Yorkers. They're in the belly of the beast, Josh. Think about it. This is where Republicans lose 70-30 to Democrats. There's no reason there should be booed by bystanders in the middle of Manhattan's Midtown. And they were, which is indicative that this issue transcends political affiliation. This isn't about Democrats and Republicans. This is about quality of life. This is about a sovereignty and a lack thereof of sovereignty with an invasion through our southern border because of failed policies from the Biden administration. So I took it back and went to the same location, same hotel, did my press conference on Saturday. I had same amount of members from the media there. We had same coverage, but guess what? We had support from bystanders. We have people clapping in their cars driving by because it's about common sense. It's about talking to the people about the things that are that matter to them and the things that are really affecting their lives. I have close to 7,500 undocumented aliens in New York's 3rd Congressional District right now. It would be a dereliction of duty if I wasn't doing anything to fix that. And that's why I'm bringing the heat on every single day to everybody when it comes to this issue.
And you absolutely are, and we appreciate you putting so much heat on the people. But what is the federal solution to the migrant crisis you see on the border and in blue states, sanctuary cities that are actually overflowing, like New York?
Close the border. That's number one. You need to create all and any possible entry through a non-point of entry. You need to put deterrence in every single one of those locations. The floating devices that the governor installed is a start, but we need to do so much more than that. It might look inhumane, but that creates deterrence because the moment people see a visible, notable death trap in front of them, they will not attempt to come. It creates deterrence. And then on top of that, to handle what's going on here internally, stop throwing money at this issue and prolonging the issue. We need to double the size of the immigration court. Right now, we have 700 immigration judges. We need 1,400. We need to expand USCSI, not the IRS. We need to take that money that we put in for the 97,000 highly armed and trained and skilled IRS agents and put it into USCSI, because at that point, what we'll be able to do is to run and streamline the process, because at the end of the day, out of the 2-3 million people who've made it in here into this country so far since Biden took office, we're going to be able to process 80% of them who are not eligible for asylum claims and are asylum status and are just here as economic migrants. We'll be able to process them right out of here, send them back to where they came from. And then the burden on us internally drops significantly to sustainable levels, sustainable normal levels that the United States has learned to operate with the asylum process. Because we're not turning away asylum seekers. We're just turning away people who just don't have a claim to be here. And if they want to live here, go back home, go to the American embassy back home and go about it the proper way and wait the 6, 7, 10, 12 years it takes to get here. Pretty plain and simple.
And I'm glad to hear that thought from you. One thing I didn't hear you mention is sending the military to the border. I've always thought that was a stupid idea. What are your thoughts on that solution being proposed by some members of Congress?
I think it's silly. I think we should not be sending the military to the U.S.-Mexico border. I think the issue here is strengthening CBP. It's giving them the resources, giving them the funding, giving them the manpower. Plain and simple.
I completely agree with you. So now let's head down to D.C. A lot of news came out overnight last night. We have the spending deadline on September 30th fast approaching. We saw a wave of Republicans coming out against a continuing resolution that's being put up. What are your thoughts on this continuing resolution, and what are your top goals with this upcoming budget?
The top goal with the budget is to cut spending. That's number one. But we need to cut spending where spending needs to be cut, not on stuff like water infrastructure, not stuff like on quality of life infrastructure as a whole. There's other places for money to be cut. And one place that I am saying that we should be cutting funds is to the defense budget in order to allow aid to go to countries like Ukraine. We have given $116 billion to this war, and we have not advanced it one iota. With that kind of money, with the kind of support we've been giving, they should have wiped out the Russians a long time ago if that was their real goal. So it brings up to question, is their goal to really fight Russia or to continuously milk the United States? That's number one. Number two, on the CR, I don't disagree with my colleagues who are voting no. I just have a different opinion on them on this one. I do not believe in a continued resolution. However, I believe that it's Congress's job to avoid a government shutdown because I'm responsible for approximately 7,000 federal employees in New York's 3rd District. That means these people have to feed their families, keep a roof over their house. If we shut down the government, these people stop getting paid. These people stop getting paid, they can't feed themselves. Winter's amongst us, they can't pay their heating bills. So there's a responsibility there that has to go into this. Now, I've made it very clear. I will vote for this CR the way it is right now, even though it's not perfect, but I'm not going to let perfect be the enemy of, good. But it's 30 days and it's only 30 days and I will not vote for another CR. It is a one-stop deal, one-stop deal until October 31st. If we can't come to a resolution then we have a big problem. But my fear is that Senator Schumer will shoot it down and send it back to us with a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo in it, and then we will go into a shutdown. So at this point, I have a feeling in my heart that a shutdown is imminent. And if we go into a shutdown, this is on Chuck Schumer, this is on President Biden, because this CR is all about protecting the border. We're willing to give them a 30-day extension to continuously fund government in exchange for shutting down the border. If they're not willing to do that, they're not serious about the migrant crisis. And if they're not serious about the migrant crisis, they don't care about Americans because the migrants take away resources from Americans, whether it's SNAP, housing, education. It dilutes and takes away the quality of services that American citizens receive day in and day out.
I completely agree with you on that, sir. I'm still not completely sold on the CR, but I understand your perspective there. Do you see a path to have individualized spending bills as people are hoping for? Because that doesn't seem to be in the path anytime soon.
It's the only way that we're going to fund this government because I am not willing to vote on an omnibus bill.
Well, that's good to hear, and I'm glad to hear that. So, the budget is one thing,
and I'm not alone on that, which is another thing.
I know that there's a lot of vocal members already talking about that as well. So, Speaker McCarthy came out a few days ago and advised certain committees to begin an impeachment inquiry. You know this already, into President Biden. Many of your fellow members believe this is too little, too late, and also a distraction from the ongoing budget negotiations. Do you think this is an appropriate time for an impeachment inquiry? What are your thoughts on it in general? And do you think the House can multitask with both this inquiry and the budget, or is it going to create too much chaos?
Completely different committees. So absolutely, to answer your question, the committees are so different. There's very little overlap. The committees can absolutely work in tandem. To the committees that are tasked with funding the government and working out the budget are one. The committees tasked with making sure that they can impeach Joe Biden constitutionally are another. Look, there's never a good time to impeach a president. There's never an opportune time to impeach a president, whether you agree with the president or not, because impeachment, all it does is divide the country, cost millions of dollars, and alienate half the country, right? But the reality is I think that the speaker's approach was simple. They were investigating him. Now the committee has required expansion of the scope to investigate the president, and an impeachment inquiry was necessary. I support that. Would I have liked to see an impeachment inquiry earlier in the summer? Absolutely. The moment we started unveiling all of Hunter Biden's emails and the fact that the president lied, that he said he did not know about Hunter's dealings, that he did not have any knowledge, and then verses later saying that he does not recall these people. At that point, in early, I think it was late June, early July, that's when the inquiry should have been launched. But I guess the speaker was allowing the members of the committee to continuously do their investigation. And then when the IRS whistleblowers came out, if at that point it didn't happen, I thought it would never happen. The fact that it happened makes me happy, because you can't just vote for impeachment without a formal impeachment inquiry, or else you'd be stooping to the low levels of society like Nancy Pelosi did. So I'm glad that an inquiry is out there. And now that we'll have an opportunity to go ahead and hold this president accountable for all the hurt he's put this country through, and for selling out the vice presidency while he was vice president so his son can go profit millions and millions from corrupt nations like China and Ukraine.
Well, Congressman, I have to say you've taken my words out of my mouth with that. So I completely appreciate you joining me today. That's all I've got for you. I'm going to link your show notes in the show notes below, your congressional website, your campaign website. Where can people find you on social media?
Santos, it's generally Rep Santos at all social medias, and you're able to find me there, or just simply type George Santos.
And if you're really based on Twitter, you're really good on Twitter, he'll follow you back, which I have to brag. I've got the George Santos follow back. It's great. Well, Congressman, thank you for joining us on the program today. I hope to have you on again soon.
Thank you, Josh. Keep up the fight and keep being a good patriot.
Yes, sir. Back after this.
You're listening to the Conservative Crusader.